Rap singer Eazy-E has lost his battle with AIDS just 10 days after revealing that he had the disease.
Like, hey, something serious happened to my father, you know what I mean?
It begins with Tracy Jernigan, once a quiet presence in Eazy's inner circle, stepping forward after decades of hushed speculation and unanswered questions. Her voice doesn't waver when she says it. She believes Eric Wright, the man crowned the godfather of gangsta rap, didn't simply fall to an unforgiving illness. She calls it a setup and orchestrated move. By unseen forces within the music industry's highest ranks, Tracy lives with a memory etched into her soul. Eric, once buzzing with charisma and still physically robust, suddenly confined to a hospital.
That Sunday, how soon before he ended up in the hospital?
That Monday.
Wow.
The next day. And he never came out of the hospital out of Cedars-Sinai.
Wow.
Bed at Cedars-Sinai. His health spiraled in a way no one could explain. She's not chasing a conspiracy theory, she insists. She's chasing a truth long buried beneath legal documents, rivalries, and raw ambition. One day he walked into that hospital. He never walked back out. The speed of his downfall is impossible to ignore. Just a month before the headlines screamed of his demise, Eazy was in the studio laughing, alert, and solid. Built like a fire plug, as one friend remembered. There were no visible warning signs, no fatigue, no frailty, and suddenly came the violent coughs, the hospital admittance, and the startling press release. 9 days later, he was gone, and in that 9-day stretch came one of the strangest moments in hip-hop history. A hospital room, marriage to Tamika Woods. Just 12 days before his death, vows were exchanged, and with that, she inherited control of Ruthless Records. Was this a dying man's move to protect his legacy, or a calculated power shift executed amid his vulnerability? The question hangs heavy in the air. Enter the whisper of a poison contract. A phrase that feels ripped.
Some of the people that I'm talking to were saying that they weren't surprised, or at least weren't alarmed by the cough because he smoked so much. Do you remember hearing him cough, and did you not think anything of it?
The cough was different that Sunday when we went to his house.
How so?
Because, man, I've smoked since 16, 17 years old. It wasn't a cough.
Okay.
It was
So you knew the
from
difference.
A mob movie, but in this story is tied to a real meeting. Friends remember a tense business gathering. The air was thick with suspicion. Deals were on the table. So was the threat of betrayal. A handshake later, and perhaps a fatal decision was made. Was that contract more than a legal agreement? At the moment Eric Wright's fate was sealed? The silence from those present that day is deafening. But the list of people who had something to gain from his absence is long. In the ruthless 90s music scene, power didn't just shift through takeovers, it was wrestled through erasure. Tracy isn't leaning on rumors. Her doubt is grounded in what she witnessed. The classic symptoms of full-blown AIDS, the wasting, the mental decline, the lesions were nowhere to be found. Even in his final hours, she says, he looked like himself. Ill, yes, but not the skeletal image typical of someone in the final stage of the disease. Medical experts claim that in rare cases, progression can be rapid, but to her, the timeline doesn't add up. How does a man go from vibrant to dying in mere weeks with no prior warning? How do none of his partners or children test positive? How does someone with fame, fortune, and elite healthcare vanish so suddenly without a trace of the storm brewing?
You know, if we was friends before we did music together, then I think maybe it would have turned out different. But, you know, it was kind of a business relationship in a lot of ways. Even though we had a lot of fun together, you know.
For sure.
I considered him, you know, at the end, a friend, and not just, you know,
A business partner.
the leader of NW.
For Tracy and for Eazy's daughter, who lost her father at just 4 years old, this is personal. It's not just about legacy. It's about clarity. It's about who took the reins of a multi-million-dollar empire and whether that takeover was earned or engineered. In the cutthroat world of mid-90s hip-hop, loyalties could flip with a single missed check. Rivals weren't just competitors. They were potential threats. Eazy had many enemies. From former collaborators to business sharks to political figures who bristled at his influence. And despite NWA's fragmentation, he had managed to keep ruthless records afloat, a rare feat that made him more than just a survivor, made him a threat. Those who were closest to him recalled the days before his hospitalization as normal. Studio time, phone calls, plans to reunite the iconic group. No one remembers him seeming terminally ill. Yet once he checked into Cedars-Sinai, the diagnosis came back with lightning speed. And then
we buried him April 7th, and then I turned 11 April 23rd.
Silence. Court battles erupted almost immediately after his death. The ink had barely dried on his marriage license when legal claims over ruthless records started flying. Tomika found herself locked in disputes with longtime business partners who claimed they were the rightful heirs. In this storm of grief and litigation, the theories only multiplied. Some point to old vendettas, others to a calculated takedown, one not done with bullets, but with biology. Tracy continues to press the issue. No drugs, no prior symptoms, no decline. Just a sudden, lethal spiral. To her, this wasn't nature. It was designed. Her words are more than mourning. They're an indictment. As the camera pans across photos, Eric with his children. On stage, behind the mic, we're reminded this isn't just tabloid fodder. This was a man, a visionary, a father. And his fall didn't just shock fans, it shook boardrooms, alleyways, and federal agencies alike. Was his death the tragic outcome of a wild lifestyle, or the cleanest crime the industry's ever seen? In those final days,
I get a call from E, and E's telling me, meet me at the house on Sunday. So Sunday, me and my homies, we all go to his house. And man, he's got a dry cough, like a cold, dry cough. And he was like, man, I got this bronchitis, just let me get it out of my chest.
Cedars-Sinai wasn't a sanctuary. It was on lockdown. Visitors were filtered, phones went unanswered. Even longtime friends were kept at arm's length. Was it to shield A? Man in pain, or to contain a story no one wanted out? The official story is riddled with inconsistencies. Some family members say he was talking business. Others say he was barely conscious. Medical records? Incomplete. Missing pages. Questionable signatures. No independent autopsy. No alternate cause explored. The death certificate says pneumonia due to AIDS complications, but some insiders claim they saw earlier versions ones. That told a different tale. And so the questions linger. Whispers grow louder. 30 years later, we're still asking, did Eric Wright die of disease or disappear beneath the perfect cover of one? If you believe the more suspicious voices, crucial evidence may have been buried along with...
Technology is so high, right?
Right.
So if you shoot somebody, you go to jail forever. So the kids, you don't want to go to jail forever, right? So they got this new thing out there. People sell them all the time. They got this stuff they get blood from somebody with AIDS, and then they shoot you with it.
Oh, so that seems bad.
That's a slow
Yeah.
Eazy-E, I mean?
Yeah.
Eazy himself. The official file was sealed tighter than the most secure vault in Los Angeles, leaving only questions in its wake. And lurking in the shadows of those unanswered questions is a name that refuses to fade from the conversation: Suge Knight. Back in the 90s, Knight's reputation was already the stuff of industry legend and whispered fear. He was the kind of man you didn't cross unless you were prepared to risk your deal, your livelihood, or worse. Then came his chilling appearance on Jimmy Kimmel. Live in 2003. Sitting across from Kimmel with a grin that unsettled viewers, Suge casually mentioned a new thing, a way to infect someone with HIV through tainted blood. Then came the punchline, the Eazy-E thing. He said it like a joke. But for those already knee-deep in decades of rumors and suspicions, it landed more like a confession slipped through a smirk.
Laugh and joke and have
Industry
drinks
veterans still recall the fierce
talking about
rivalry between Knight and Eazy-E feud ignited.
And get a chance to have that
During the
time
tug-of-war
before
over
he
Dr.
passed
Dre,
away.
Knight's methods weren't
really
subtle.
heal all wounds.
Threats,
It do.
intimidation,